On a chilly autumn afternoon, the streets of downtown Chicago bustled with people rushing to their destinations. The air carried the faint smell of roasted chestnuts from a nearby vendor, and leaves swirled around in small whirlwinds created by passing cars. Among the crowd stood Alex Carter, a man in his early 30s with tousled brown hair and a warm smile that rarely left his face. He wasn't particularly tall or strikingly handsome, but there was something about him. Perhaps it was his calm demeanor or the way he seemed to notice things others overlooked. Alex had just finished running errands for the day. His arms were full of grocery bags as he made his way toward the bus stop near the corner of State Street. As he approached, he noticed someone standing there alone. It was a woman, dressed casually in jeans and a hoodie, her head slightly bowed. Her dark sunglasses hid most of her face, but Alex could tell she looked troubled. She kept glancing at the schedule board and then down at her hands, which were nervously fumbling through the contents of her bag. Curiosity tugged at him. Something about her posture suggested she was searching for something important. Or maybe struggling to find it. Without thinking too much, Alex slowed his pace and came closer. When he finally stopped beside her, he cleared his throat gently. "Excuse me," he said, his voice soft but clear. "Is everything okay?" The woman turned to look at him, startled by his presence. For a moment she hesitated, as if debating whether to respond. Then with a sigh she pushed her sunglasses up onto her head, revealing tired yet strikingly beautiful eyes. "I'm fine," she replied, though her tone betrayed otherwise. "Just trying to figure out how I'm going to pay for the bus." Alex blinked, taken aback. Pay for the bus? It seemed like such a small problem compared to the weight she carried in her expression. Still, he didn't question it. Instead, he shifted the grocery bags to one arm and reached into his pocket. Pulling out a few crumpled dollar bills, he held them out to her. "Here," he said simply. "Take this. It's not much, but it should cover your fare." At first, the woman stared at the money as if unsure what to do. Her lips parted slightly, and her brow furrowed. "I can't," she started, shaking her head. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity," Alex interrupted quickly, his tone firm but kind. "Think of it as paying it forward. Someone might have helped me once when I needed it, and now I'm doing the same for you." He gave her a reassuring smile, hoping to ease whatever pride was holding her back. For a long moment they locked eyes. There was something magnetic about her gaze. It wasn't just beauty. It was depth, intelligence, and perhaps even sadness. Whatever it was, Alex felt drawn to it. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the woman sighed again and took the money. "Thank you," she murmured softly, almost under her breath. "I'll make sure to return it someday." "You don't have to," Alex replied lightly, though part of him hoped she would. "Consider it a gift." The bus arrived moments later, its brakes hissing as it pulled up to the curb. The woman stepped aboard without another word, though she glanced over her shoulder one last time before disappearing inside. Alex watched her go, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and curiosity. Who was she? Why had she been so reluctant to accept help? And why did he feel like he wanted to know more? As the bus drove away, Alex shook his head, chuckling softly at himself. "Get a grip," he muttered under his breath. "You barely even talked to her." But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that their brief encounter meant something. Maybe it was the way she had looked at him. With gratitude, yes, but also with a hint of mystery. Or maybe it was the fact that she hadn't offered her name or asked for his. Whatever it was, Alex found himself replaying the moment in his mind all the way home. Later that evening, sitting in his modest apartment with a cup of coffee steaming on the table, Alex tried to focus on the design project he'd been working on for days. Yet every time he opened his laptop, his thoughts drifted back to the woman at the bus stop. He wondered where she had been going, what her story was, and whether he'd ever see her again. It wasn't unusual for Alex to think about strangers. He had always been the type of person who cared deeply about others, even those he didn't know well. Growing first-person perspective, Alex often imagined the lives of people he passed on the street. Was that man walking his dog heading home after a tough day at work? Did the barista serving coffee have dreams beyond her cafe job? These musings weren't intrusive. Rather, they reflected his natural empathy and curiosity about the world. But today was different. Today, the stranger at the bus stop lingered, in his mind in a way no one else ever had. Perhaps it was because he had interacted with her directly, however briefly. Or maybe it was the intensity of her gaze, the way it had seemed to pierce straight through him. Whatever the reason, Alex couldn't deny that he felt a connection, a fleeting spark that refused to fade. As he sipped his coffee, staring absent-mindedly at the glowing screen of his laptop, Alex decided to let himself indulge in the fantasy for a little while longer. What if he did run into her again? What would he say? Would she remember him? And more importantly, would she still carry that air of quiet elegance and intrigue? Little did Alex know. The woman from the bus stop was thinking about him too, at least in her own way. Unbeknownst to him, she wasn't just some ordinary commuter struggling to scrape together bus fare. In fact, she was anything but ordinary. Her name was Emma Hayes, and she was one of the most powerful women in the city. But that revelation would come later. For now, both Alex and Emma were left with nothing more than the memory of a chance encounter, and the faintest inkling that their paths might cross again. And so, as the night wore on and the city lights flickered outside his window, Alex eventually closed his laptop and climbed into bed. Sleep came slowly, filled with half-formed dreams of hoodies, sunglasses, and piercing eyes. Meanwhile, across town, Emma sat in her luxurious penthouse overlooking the skyline, scrolling through security footage from earlier that day. She had already identified the man who had helped her. Now, all she needed to do was decide what to do next. Neither of them realized it yet, but their lives were about to change in ways neither could have anticipated. The next morning, Alex woke up feeling unusually restless. He couldn't explain why, but the memory of the woman at the bus stop lingered in his mind like a song he couldn't get out of his head. Her face, her voice, and even the way she hesitated before accepting his help. It all seemed so vivid, as if it had happened just moments ago instead of the day before. Alex tried to shake it off as he got ready for work. He reminded himself that encounters like that were common in a big city like Chicago. People crossed paths every day without ever seeing each other again. Still, something about her stuck with him. Maybe it was the way she carried herself, like someone who didn't belong on a crowded street corner waiting for a bus. Or maybe it was the flicker of vulnerability he'd glimpsed behind her sunglasses. Whatever it was, Alex couldn't deny that she had made an impression. At work, Alex did his best to focus. As a graphic designer, his job required creativity and attention to detail, but his thoughts kept wandering back to the mysterious woman. During lunch, he found himself staring out the window, imagining what her life might be like. Was she a student? A tourist? Someone going through a tough time? The possibilities swirled in his mind, each one more intriguing than the last. Meanwhile, across town, Emma Hayes sat in her sleek office on the top floor of a towering skyscraper. The view from her window stretched endlessly, offering a breathtaking panorama of the city below. Yet despite the luxury surrounding her, Emma felt distracted. Her mind kept drifting back to the man who had helped her at the bus stop, the man with the kind smile and unassuming demeanor. Emma wasn't used to being helped. As the CEO of one of the largest tech companies in the world, she was accustomed to giving orders, making decisions, and solving problems, not asking for assistance. But there was something about the way Alex had offered her money that felt different. It wasn't pity or obligation. It was genuine kindness. And in a world where most interactions were transactional, that kind of sincerity was rare. Curiosity gnawed at Emma. She wanted to know more about him. Who was he? What did he do for a living? Did he realize how much his simple gesture had meant to her? Determined to find answers, Emma turned to her assistant, Lisa, and asked her to pull up security footage from the area near the bus stop. Within minutes, Lisa returned with grainy images of Alex handing over the money and then walking away. "Do you recognize him?" Lisa asked, glancing at Emma curiously. "No," Emma replied, studying the screen intently. "But I want to." Using facial recognition software and public records, Emma quickly pieced together Alex's identity. His name was Alex Carter, and he worked as a freelance graphic designer for a small marketing firm downtown. From what she could gather, he lived a modest life, renting a cozy apartment, spending weekends exploring the city, and occasionally posting sketches on social media. There was nothing extraordinary about his background, yet Emma couldn't help but feel drawn to him. That evening, as Emma sat alone in her penthouse, she debated what to do next. Should she reach out to him? If so, how? She knew she couldn't simply show up at his apartment or call him out of the blue. That would be too forward, too invasive. No, she needed a plan, a way to reintroduce herself into his life without revealing her true identity right away. The idea came to her suddenly, like a spark igniting in her mind. She would hire him, for real this time. Not because she needed his services, her company already had an entire team of designers, but because it would give her an excuse to spend time with him. It was a bold move, but Emma had never been one to shy away from taking risks. The following day, Emma reached out to Alex's firm under the guise of needing branding services for a new project. She introduced herself as Emma, leaving out her last name and any mention of her position. When Alex's boss reviewed the inquiry, he immediately assigned the task to Alex, citing his talent and reliability. When Alex received the email, he felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. Freelance projects were always welcome, especially when they came from potential long-term clients. Still, something about the message felt oddly familiar. The sender's name, Emma, rang a faint bell in his mind, though he couldn't quite place it. Deciding not to overthink it, Alex replied promptly, suggesting they meet at a local cafe to discuss the details. Emma agreed, careful to keep her tone professional while masking her eagerness. By the time they exchanged a few more emails, both were looking forward to their meeting, though for very different reasons. On the appointed day, Alex arrived at the cafe early, choosing a quiet corner where they could talk without distractions from the bustling crowd. He ordered a coffee and waited nervously, rehearsing what he would say in his head. When Emma walked in a few minutes later, Alex barely recognized her at first. Gone were the hoodie and sunglasses. Instead, she wore a tailored blazer and trousers that accentuated her confident posture. Her hair was styled neatly, and her makeup was subtle, yet polished. For a moment, Alex wondered if he had mistaken her for someone else. But then their eyes met, and he saw it. The same intensity, the same depth that had captivated him at the bus stop. Emma smiled warmly as she approached, extending her hand. "Hi, Alex," she said, her voice smooth and friendly. "Thanks for meeting me." Alex shook her hand, momentarily speechless. Hi," he stammered, regaining his composure. "Nice to meet you." As they settled into their seats, Emma launched into a discussion about the project, explaining her vision and goals in clear, concise terms. Alex listened attentively, jotting down notes and offering thoughtful suggestions. Despite her polished exterior, Emma couldn't help but notice the sincerity in his responses, the way he genuinely cared about understanding her needs. Throughout the conversation, Alex struggled to reconcile the woman sitting across from him with the one he had met at the bus stop. They seemed like two completely different people, yet as they talked, he began to see glimpses of the same vulnerability he had noticed before. It was in the way she hesitated before answering certain questions, or the slight tremor in her voice when discussing personal preferences. By the end of their meeting, they had agreed to collaborate further. Emma promised to send over additional materials, and Alex assured her he would deliver high-quality work within the specified timeline. As they parted ways, Emma felt a sense of satisfaction, not just because she had successfully initiated contact, but because she had enjoyed their interaction. Alex, on the other hand, left the cafe feeling intrigued and slightly confused. Something about Emma still puzzled him, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Over the next few days, Alex threw himself into the project, determined to impress Emma. He sketched logos, drafted color palettes, and experimented with typography, pouring his heart into every detail. Meanwhile, Emma monitored his progress closely, offering feedback and encouragement whenever necessary. Their exchanges remained professional, but there was an undeniable chemistry between them, a connection that went beyond client and designer. One afternoon, after reviewing one of Alex's drafts, Emma sent him a message thanking him for his hard work. She ended the email with a casual invitation. "If you're free this weekend, maybe we could grab coffee again? I'd love to hear more about your creative process." Alex read the message twice, his heart skipping a beat. Was this really happening? Was Emma asking him out, or was it just another business meeting disguised as something else? Either way, he didn't hesitate to accept. As the weekend approached, both Alex and Emma found themselves looking forward to their second meeting with equal parts anticipation and nervousness. Neither of them realized it yet, but their lives were slowly intertwining in ways neither could have predicted. What started as a simple act of kindness at a bus stop was blossoming into something far greater, a bond built on trust, curiosity, and the promise of discovery. The weekend arrived, and Alex found himself surprisingly nervous. He had spent the past few days working on designs for Emma's project, but now that their meeting was personal rather than professional, he felt unsure of what to expect. Was this a casual get-together or something more? He didn't want to overthink it, but the thought kept nagging at him. He chose a simple outfit, jeans, a clean button-up shirt and sneakers, and headed to the cafe where they had agreed to meet. It was the same place as before, cozy and quiet, with soft jazz music playing in the background. As Alex walked in, he spotted Emma already seated at a corner table. She looked up and smiled when she saw him, waving lightly to catch his attention. "Hey," Alex said, sliding into the chair across from her. "Thanks for inviting me." "No problem," Emma replied, her tone warm and inviting. "I figured we could use a break from talking about work." Alex chuckled nervously. "Yeah, that sounds good. Work can wait." They ordered their drinks, a latte for Emma and black coffee for Alex, and began chatting. At first, the conversation stayed light, covering topics like favorite books, movies, and hobbies. Alex learned that Emma enjoyed hiking and photography, while Emma discovered that Alex loved sketching in his free time and often visited art galleries for inspiration. As they talked, Alex noticed how easy it was to be around her. Despite her polished appearance, there was a genuineness to her that put him at ease. She listened intently when he spoke, asking thoughtful questions and sharing stories of her own. For someone who seemed so accomplished, she didn't come across as intimidating or distant. Instead, she felt real. Emma, too, was pleasantly surprised by how comfortable she felt with Alex. In her world, people often treated her differently once they learned who she was. They became guarded, overly polite, or eager to impress. But Alex didn't seem to care about titles or status. To him, she was just another person, a woman with interests, quirks, and dreams. At one point, Emma leaned back in her chair and sighed, contentedly. "You know, I haven't done this in a long time," she admitted. "Done what?" Alex asked, tilting his head slightly. "Just hang out with someone without any expectations. No agendas, no deadlines, just talking." Alex nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. "Yeah, it's nice. Sometimes life gets so busy you forget how refreshing it is to slow down." Their eyes met briefly, and both smiled, realizing how much they had in common despite their different lives. The afternoon passed quickly, filled with laughter and meaningful conversations. Before either of them realized it, the cafe was closing and they reluctantly decided to leave. Outside, the air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of autumn leaves. Neither wanted the day to end, so they wandered through the nearby park, continuing their chat as they strolled along winding paths. They talked about everything, from childhood memories to future aspirations, and the connection between them grew stronger with each passing minute. Eventually, they reached a small bridge overlooking a pond. Ducks paddled lazily across the water, and the golden hues of sunset painted the sky. Emma paused, leaning against the railing, and turned to Alex. "You're really talented, you know that?" Alex blinked, caught off guard by the compliment. Thanks, I mean, I try my best." "You don't give yourself enough credit," Emma said firmly. "Your designs are incredible, and not just because of the technical skill, it's the emotion behind them. You make things feel alive." Her words made Alex's cheeks flush. He wasn't used to receiving such heartfelt praise. "That means a lot coming from you," he said softly, "especially since you're paying me." Emma laughed, shaking her head. "It's not about the money, trust me. If I didn't think you were good, I wouldn't have hired you." For a moment, Alex considered telling her about the bus stop, the fact that he recognized her from that day, but something held him back. Maybe it was fear of ruining the moment, or maybe he simply wanted to savor the mystery a little longer. Instead, he changed the subject. "So, what's next for you? Any big plans?" Emma hesitated, her expression flickering with uncertainty. She had always been careful about revealing too much of herself, especially to people outside her inner circle. But looking at Alex now, she felt an urge to open up, to let him see a side of her that few others ever did. "I've been thinking about taking some time off," she confessed. "Traveling, maybe. Seeing parts of the world I've never seen before. Running a company can be exhausting, you know? Sometimes I wonder if I'm missing out on life." Alex nodded sympathetically. "I get that. It's hard to find balance when you're juggling so many responsibilities. But if anyone deserves a break, it's you." His sincerity touched her deeply. Most people would have jumped at the chance to offer advice or pry into her personal life. But Alex simply listened and responded with kindness. It was refreshing and comforting, in a way she hadn't experienced in years. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the park, Emma glanced at her watch. "We should probably head back," she said reluctantly. "But I'd like to do this again sometime, if you're free, of course." Alex grinned, feeling a surge of happiness. "Definitely, I'd like that." They walked back to the cafe together, exchanging numbers and making tentative plans for their next outing. When they finally parted ways, Alex watched her disappear into the evening crowd, his heart racing with excitement. For the first time in a long while, he felt truly alive, as if the universe had conspired to bring him exactly where he was meant to be. Later that night, lying in bed, Alex replayed the day's events in his mind. Every smile, every laugh, every shared glance felt like a treasure he wanted to hold on to forever. He couldn't explain why, but he knew that meeting Emma had changed something within him. She wasn't just a client or a stranger anymore. She was becoming something more. Across town, Emma sat in her penthouse staring out at the glittering cityscape. Her thoughts were consumed by Alex, his gentle demeanor, his passion for art, and the way he seemed to genuinely care about her. She had entered this situation with a plan, intending to repay him for his kindness and perhaps satisfy her curiosity. But somewhere along the way, her intentions had shifted. What started as gratitude had blossomed into admiration, and possibly even something deeper. Emma sighed, resting her chin on her hand. She knew she couldn't keep hiding the truth from him forever. Eventually, he would discover who she really was, and she feared how he might react. Would he feel deceived? Or worse, would he treat her differently once he learned about her wealth and power? These questions weighed heavily on her mind. But for now, she chose to focus on the present. Whatever happened next, she was determined to cherish every moment they shared. Over the following weeks, Alex and Emma continued to meet regularly. They explored museums, attended concerts, and took long walks along Lake Michigan, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. Alex admired Emma's intelligence and warmth, while Emma was captivated by Alex's creativity and humility. Their connection deepened, transcending the initial professional relationship into something far more meaningful. Though neither voiced it aloud, both knew they were falling for each other. Simple gestures, a lingering touch, a shared glance, a quiet laugh, spoke volumes about the feelings they were beginning to acknowledge. For Alex, Emma represented everything he valued: authenticity, passion, and kindness. And for Emma, Alex offered a glimpse into a simpler, more genuine way of living, a stark contrast to the high-stakes world she inhabited daily. Despite these growing emotions, doubts lingered in Emma's mind. She couldn't shake the fear of what might happen when Alex discovered her true identity. Would he feel betrayed? Or would he see her differently? Yet, even with these concerns, she couldn't bring herself to distance from him. She had fallen madly in love, and walking away wasn't an option anymore. As winter approached, blanketing Chicago in snow, Alex and Emma found themselves spending even more time together. On weekends, they bundled up and ventured outdoors, building snowmen in Millennium Park or sipping hot chocolate at quaint cafes. Each moment together reinforced their connection, making it harder to imagine life without one another. One chilly evening after a day of ice skating, Alex turned to Emma as they walked home. His breath misted in the cold air as he spoke. "You." "No," he began, his voice tinged with vulnerability. "I've been wanting to say this for a while now. Being with you, it feels different, special." Emma stopped in her tracks, her heart pounding. She searched his face, seeing only honesty and affection. "Different how?" she asked softly, though she already knew the answer. "Different because I care about you," Alex admitted, his gaze steady. "More than I expected to, more than I thought possible." Tears welled in Emma's eyes, moved by his words. She took a deep breath, knowing this was the moment she had dreaded yet anticipated. "Alex," she started, her voice trembling. "There's something I need to tell you, something important." Alex frowned, concern etched on his face. "What is it?" Emma hesitated, then decided to take the plunge. "I'm not who you think I am," she confessed. "My name isn't just Emma. I'm Emma Hayes, the CEO of Hayes Tech." For a moment, Alex stared at her, processing her revelation. Then, slowly, comprehension dawned. "Wait, the Emma Hayes? The one everyone talks about?" Emma nodded, bracing herself for his reaction. "Yes, that's me." As the weeks turned into months, Alex and Emma's relationship continued to deepen. They had settled into a rhythm that felt natural, spending as much time together as their busy schedules allowed. For Alex, every moment with Emma was a reminder of how lucky he was to have crossed paths with her. And for Emma, being with Alex offered a sense of peace she hadn't known she needed. Their weekends became something special, a chance to step away from the pressures of work and simply enjoy each other's company. One Saturday morning, Alex suggested they visit the Art Institute of Chicago. He had been wanting to show Emma some of his favorite pieces, and she eagerly agreed, excited to see the museum through his eyes. The weather was crisp and cool, perfect for a day indoors. As they wandered through the galleries, Alex pointed out paintings and sculptures that resonated with him. He explained why certain works stood out, how the colors evoked emotion, how the brushstrokes told stories, and how the artists captured moments in time. Emma listened intently, fascinated not just by the art but by the way Alex described it. His passion was infectious, and she found herself seeing the exhibits in a new light. At one point, they stopped in front of a large abstract painting filled with bold, swirling colors. "What do you think this means?" Alex asked, gesturing toward the canvas. Emma tilted her head, studying it closely. "I'm not sure," she admitted. "It feels chaotic, but also alive, like it's trying to say something." Alex smiled, clearly pleased with her answer. "That's exactly what I love about it. There's no right or wrong interpretation, it's all about how it makes you feel." They spent hours exploring the museum, sharing thoughts, and laughing over quirky details in the artwork. By the time they left, both felt energized and inspired. On the walk back to Alex's car, Emma slipped her hand into his, feeling grateful for the simple joy of being with someone who understood her so well. Despite their growing closeness, Emma still carried a weight of uncertainty. She knew she couldn't keep hiding her true identity indefinitely. Though Alex had accepted her revelation about being a CEO, She worried about how others might perceive their relationship. In her world, people often judged based on appearances and assumptions. Would they think Alex was only with her because of her wealth? Or worse, would they dismiss him entirely? These fears bubbled to the surface during a charity gala hosted by Hayes Tech. The event was one of the biggest social gatherings of the year, attended by Chicago's elite, business leaders, politicians, celebrities, and influencers. Emma had invited Alex to join her as her date, hoping to introduce him to her world. But as the night approached, she grew increasingly anxious. "Are you sure about this?" Alex asked when she mentioned the gala. They were sitting on her balcony, sipping wine and watching the city lights twinkle below. "Yes," Emma replied, firmly, though her voice betrayed a hint of nervousness. "I want you to see this side of my life, and I want them to see us, to see that we're real." Alex nodded, understanding her desire to bridge their two worlds. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was stepping into unfamiliar territory. He wasn't used to formal events or mingling with high-profile individuals. But for Emma, he was willing to try. On the night of the gala, Alex dressed carefully in a suit borrowed from a friend. When Emma opened her door to greet him, she looked stunning in an elegant gown that shimmered under the hallway lights. Her hair was styled perfectly, and her makeup accentuated her features without overwhelming them. "You look amazing," Alex said honestly, offering her his arm. "So do you," Emma replied with a smile. "Ready?" "As ready as I'll ever be." The venue was breathtaking, a grand ballroom adorned with crystal chandeliers and towering floral arrangements. Guests mingled beneath glittering lights, champagne flutes in hand. As Alex and Emma entered together, whispers rippled through the crowd. Some attendees recognized Alex immediately. Others stared curiously, wondering who he was. Emma guided him through the room, introducing him to colleagues and acquaintances. To his credit, Alex handled the attention gracefully, shaking hands and engaging in polite conversation. He stuck close to Emma, drawing strength from her presence whenever he felt out of place. Midway through the evening, Emma stepped onto the stage to deliver a speech. As she spoke confidently about innovation, leadership, and the future of technology, Alex watched from the sidelines, marveling at her poise and charisma. She commanded the room effortlessly, her words inspiring applause and admiration. When their eyes met across the distance, Emma paused briefly, giving him a small, knowing smile. It was a moment of connection, a silent acknowledgement of how far they had come together. Alex felt a surge of pride, not because of her success or status, but because of the person she was. Beneath the polished exterior lay someone kind, thoughtful, and deeply human. After the gala, they returned to Emma's penthouse, both exhausted but exhilarated. "How did I do?" Alex asked as they settled onto the couch with glasses of wine. "You were wonderful," Emma said, leaning her head against his shoulder. "Thank you for being there tonight, for supporting me." "I wouldn't miss it," Alex replied softly. "Besides, it was nice to see your world, even if it's a little intimidating." Emma laughed lightly. "Intimidating? Try overwhelming." "But I'm glad you came. You fit in better than you think." Alex shrugged modestly. "I don't know about that, but I do know one thing. I don't care about all the fancy stuff as long as I'm with you." His words touched Emma deeply. She reached for his hand, intertwining their fingers. "You're incredible, you know that? Most people would run screaming from my life, but you make it better." For a while they sat in comfortable silence, reflecting on the night. Despite the glamour and excitement, neither could deny that their happiest moments were the quiet ones, the times when it was just the two of them, free from expectations and judgment. Over the next few weeks, Alex and Emma continued to navigate their dual lives. During the week, they focused on their respective careers, juggling deadlines and responsibilities. On weekends, they carved out time for themselves, whether it was cooking dinner together, taking long drives, or simply curling up with books and music. Through it all, their bond remained strong. They supported each other unconditionally, celebrating victories and offering comfort during challenges. For Alex, Emma represented stability and inspiration, a partner who believed in him and challenged him to grow. And for Emma, Alex provided a grounding force, reminding her of what truly mattered in life. One evening, as they strolled along Lake Michigan, Emma turned to Alex with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever think about the future?" she asked. "All the time," Alex replied. "Why?" Emma hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "I guess I've been thinking about us, about where we're headed." Alex stopped walking and faced her, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "Wherever we go, I want it to be together," he said sincerely. "Does that sound crazy?" Emma shook her head, her eyes glistening with emotion. "Not at all. If anything, it sounds perfect." In that moment, standing beneath the stars with the city skyline glowing behind them, they realized they were ready to take the next step. Their love had already overcome so many obstacles, differences in background, societal expectations, and personal fears. Now they were ready to build a future that reflected who they were as individuals and as a couple. Though they didn't discuss specifics that night, both knew what lay ahead. Marriage, family, shared dreams. It all seemed possible with Alex and Emma by each other's side. For now, they were content to let things unfold naturally, trusting that their connection would guide them forward. As they walked back to the car hand in hand, Alex glanced at Emma and smiled. "You know," he said, breaking the silence, "I never thought meeting someone at a bus stop could change my life." Emma chuckled, squeezing his hand. "Neither did I, but I'm glad it did." And with that, they climbed into the car, ready to face whatever adventures awaited them, together. As winter gave way to spring, Alex and Emma found themselves at a crossroads. Their relationship had grown stronger than ever, but the differences in their lives loomed larger with each passing day. For Emma, the pressure of her role as CEO was relentless. Meetings, deadlines, and public appearances consumed her time, leaving little room for personal moments. Meanwhile, Alex juggled freelance projects and tried to maintain his creative spark, though he often felt overshadowed by the demands of Emma's world. Despite these challenges, they made it a point to prioritize each other. Every evening, no matter how busy their days had been, they would call or text just to check in. On weekends, they carved out time to be together, whether it was cooking breakfast in Emma's penthouse kitchen or taking long walks through the city parks. These small rituals kept them connected even when life threatened to pull them apart. But Emma couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something needed to change. She loved Alex deeply, but she worried that their vastly different lifestyles were unsustainable in the long run. Could they truly build a future together if their worlds remained so far apart? And more importantly, could she ask Alex to adjust to her high-profile existence without losing the very qualities that drew her to him in the first place? One Friday afternoon, after a particularly grueling week at work, Emma decided to broach the subject. She invited Alex over for dinner, hoping to create a calm and intimate setting for their conversation. As they sat on her balcony sipping wine and watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink, Emma took a deep breath. "Alex," she began hesitantly, "I've been thinking a lot about us lately." Alex turned to look at her, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "What is it?" he asked gently. "It's just—" Emma paused, searching for the right words. "Our lives are so different. Yours is simple and grounded, while mine is complicated and chaotic. I love you, and I want us to have a future together. But sometimes I wonder if we can really make it work." Alex listened quietly, letting her finish before responding. He could see the worry in her eyes, the fear that their differences might drive them apart. "Emma," he said softly, reaching for her hand, "I know our lives aren't the same. And yeah, there are challenges. But none of that changes how I feel about you." "I know," Emma replied, her voice trembling slightly. "But what happens when the pressure gets too much? When my job takes over completely? Or when people start judging you because of me?" Alex squeezed her hand reassuringly. "We'll figure it out. Together. Look, I'm not saying it'll always be easy, but if we face things as a team, we can handle anything. Besides, I didn't fall in love with your title or your company. I fell in love with you. That's what matters." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she absorbed his words. She had spent so much of her life guarding herself against vulnerability, fearing rejection or betrayal. But with Alex, she felt safe, truly seen and accepted for who she was beneath the surface. His unwavering support gave her hope that their love could endure whatever obstacles lay ahead. Over the next few weeks, Alex and Emma worked to bridge the gap between their worlds. Emma made an effort to slow down, delegating tasks at work and setting boundaries to protect her personal time. She also introduced Alex to some of her closest friends and colleagues, wanting him to feel more integrated into her life. Though, these interactions were sometimes awkward, especially when people asked intrusive questions about their relationship. They only strengthened Alex and Emma's resolve to stay united. For his part, Alex embraced the opportunities to learn more about Emma's world. He attended networking events with her, listened patiently as she vented about stressful meetings, and offered advice when she struggled with tough decisions. At the same time, he encouraged her to reconnect with the simpler joys in life, like spending lazy Sundays sketching in the park or exploring hidden gems in the city. Their efforts paid off. Slowly but surely, they began to find a balance, a middle ground where both felt comfortable and valued. It wasn't perfect, and there were still moments of tension or doubt. But they faced those challenges together, trusting that their love would guide them through. One evening, as they prepared dinner in Emma's kitchen, Alex surprised her with a question. "Have you ever thought about traveling together?" he asked casually, chopping vegetables for a stir-fry. Emma looked up from the stove, intrigued. "Traveling? Like where?" "I don't know." Alex shrugged, smiling. "Somewhere new. Somewhere neither of us has been before. Just the two of us, no distractions." The idea appealed to Emma immediately. She had spent years focused on building her career, rarely taking time to explore beyond business trips or luxury vacations. The thought of embarking on an adventure with Alex, of experiencing new cultures and landscapes alongside him, felt exhilarating. "That sounds amazing," she said, her eyes lighting up. "Where do you want to go?" "How about Italy?" Alex suggested. "We could wander through Tuscany, visit art galleries in Florence, and eat pasta until we can't move." Emma laughed, imagining the trip already. "Deal. Let's do it." They spent the rest of the evening planning their itinerary, dreaming of cobblestone streets, vineyards, and sunsets over rolling hills. For the first time in months, Emma felt a sense of excitement, not just about the trip itself, but about the future they were building together. When the day of their departure finally arrived, Alex and Emma boarded a plane bound for Rome, eager to leave their routines behind. Over the course of 2 weeks, they immersed themselves in Italian culture, marveling at ancient ruins, sampling delicious food, and soaking in the beauty of the countryside. Each day brought new discoveries and memories, strengthening their bond in ways neither had anticipated. On their last night in Florence, they climbed to the top of Piazzale Michelangelo, a scenic overlook offering panoramic views of the city. As they stood side by side, gazing at the twinkling lights below, Alex reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "Emma," he said, his voice steady despite the nervousness bubbling inside him. "I've been thinking a lot about our future, about how lucky I am to have you in my life. You're my best friend, my partner, and the love of my life. I can't imagine going through this world without you." He opened the box to reveal a delicate diamond ring. "Will you marry me?" Emma gasped, tears streaming down her face as she stared at the ring and at Alex. For a moment she couldn't speak, overwhelmed by emotion. Then with a shaky nod she whispered, "Yes." Alex slipped the ring onto her finger, pulling her into a tight embrace. They kissed under the stars, surrounded by the timeless beauty of Florence, knowing that their journey was only beginning. Back in Chicago, news of their engagement spread quickly. Friends and family celebrated the happy couple, showering them with well wishes and support. Even Emma's colleagues, who had initially been skeptical of her relationship with Alex, warmed to him once they saw how genuinely happy he made her. Planning the wedding became a joyful process, filled with laughter, creativity, and collaboration. Alex and Emma decided to keep things simple yet meaningful, opting for an intimate ceremony on a quiet beach outside the city. They wanted the focus to be on their love, not on extravagance or spectacle. On the day of the wedding, as Alex stood at the end of the aisle waiting for Emma, he felt a mix of nerves and excitement. When she appeared walking toward him in a flowing white dress, his heart swelled with gratitude. This was the woman who had changed his life in ways he never imagined possible. The woman he would spend the rest of his days loving and cherishing. As they exchanged vows, promising to stand by each other through thick and thin, Alex and Emma knew they had found something rare and precious. Their love had overcome differences in background, societal expectations, and personal fears. It had weathered storms and celebrated triumphs, growing stronger with each passing day. When the ceremony ended and they shared their first kiss as husband and wife, the crowd erupted in applause. But for Alex and Emma, the cheers faded into the background. All that mattered was the knowledge that they had built a foundation strong enough to carry them into the future, together. Years later, whenever someone asked how they met, Emma would smile and say, "He gave me money for the bus not knowing who I was, and somehow that made all the difference." It was a story they cherished, a reminder of how fate had brought them together in the most unexpected way. And though their lives had changed dramatically since that fateful encounter, one thing remained constant: their love for each other. The wedding day was perfect. The beach where Alex and Emma exchanged their vows was quiet and serene, with the sound of gentle waves lapping against the shore. A soft breeze carried the scent of salt water, and the golden light of the setting sun bathed everything in a warm glow. Friends and family gathered under a simple arch decorated with flowers, their smiles reflecting the joy of the occasion. Emma walked down the aisle on her father's arm, her heart pounding with excitement. When she reached Alex, she saw the look of pure adoration in his eyes, and all her nerves melted away. They held hands as they spoke their vows, simple promises that came straight from their hearts. There were no grand speeches or elaborate displays, just two people committing to love and support each other for the rest of their lives. After the ceremony, everyone moved to a nearby reception area where tables were set up with twinkling fairy lights and bouquets of wildflowers. The atmosphere was warm and intimate, filled with laughter, music, and heartfelt toasts. As Alex and Emma danced together under the stars, it felt like the world had paused just for them. For the first time in a long while, they weren't thinking about work, responsibilities, or the challenges ahead. All that mattered was the moment, their love, their happiness, their future. Life after the wedding wasn't without its ups and downs. Merging their two very different worlds required effort, compromise, and patience. Emma still juggled the demands of running a global company, while Alex continued to pursue his passion for design. But they approached every challenge as a team, leaning on each other when things got tough. One of the biggest adjustments came when Emma decided to step back slightly from her role as CEO. She didn't leave the company entirely. Her leadership was too valuable, but she delegated more responsibilities to trusted executives, giving herself time to focus on her personal life. This decision surprised many in the business community, but Emma didn't care. For once, she wanted to prioritize her own happiness over corporate success. Alex supported her choice wholeheartedly. He knew how much pressure Emma had been under for years, and he encouraged her to take breaks whenever she needed them. Together, they explored new hobbies, gardening, cooking classes, even yoga, and found joy in the little things. On weekends, they often drove out of the city to hike in nature or visit small towns, relishing the simplicity of life away from skyscrapers and boardrooms. Despite these changes, there were still moments of tension. Some of Emma's colleagues questioned her commitment to the company, while others whispered about Alex being a gold digger who had married her for her wealth. These rumors hurt, but Alex and Emma refused to let them affect their relationship. They knew the truth, that their love was built on mutual respect, trust, and genuine affection. To combat negativity, they made a conscious effort to stay grounded. Alex introduced Emma to his friends and family, showing her a side of life she hadn't experienced since childhood. In turn, Emma included Alex in important events at Hayes Tech, ensuring that he felt valued and respected in her professional circle. Over time, the skepticism faded, replaced by admiration for the strength of their partnership. A year into their marriage, Alex and Emma faced another milestone: starting a family. Both had always dreamed of having children, but the idea of balancing parenthood with their careers seemed daunting. After months of discussion and planning, they decided to take the leap. Emma adjusted her schedule further, carving out time to be present during pregnancy appointments and prepare for the baby's arrival. Alex, meanwhile, scaled back some of his freelance projects to ensure he could be home more often. When their daughter, Lily, was born, their lives changed in ways they couldn't have imagined. Sleepless nights and endless diaper changes tested their patience, but they tackled everything together. Emma marveled at how Alex adapted so naturally to fatherhood, soothing Lily with lullabies and rocking her to sleep. And Alex admired Emma's ability to balance motherhood with her leadership role, seamlessly transitioning from CEO to mom whenever needed. Lily brought a new kind of joy into their home, a pure, unconditional love that reminded them of what truly mattered. Watching her grow, laugh, and explore the world became their greatest source of happiness. They documented every milestone, filling photo albums with pictures of her first steps, first words, and countless giggles. As the years passed, Alex and Emma continued to grow alongside each other. Their relationship evolved, shaped by shared experiences, challenges, and triumphs. They celebrated anniversaries, traveled to new places, and welcomed another child, a boy named Ethan, into their family. Through it all, they remained committed to maintaining the balance they had worked so hard to achieve. Emma never forgot the lessons Alex taught her about staying grounded and appreciating the simple things in life. She began mentoring young entrepreneurs, encouraging them to chase their dreams without losing sight of their values. Her influence extended beyond the boardroom, inspiring others to lead with kindness and integrity. For Alex, marrying Emma opened doors he hadn't known existed. While he continued to work as a designer, he also pursued photography, capturing the beauty of everyday moments through his lens. His work gained recognition, earning him exhibitions in local galleries. Though his success paled in comparison to Emma's, she cheered him on just as enthusiastically as he had supported her. Together, they created a life that reflected who they were as individuals and as a couple. Their home was a blend of luxury and simplicity, a penthouse apartment with modern furniture but cozy corners filled with books, art supplies, and family photos. They hosted dinner parties where CEOs mingled with artists, proving that differences didn't have to divide people. On Lily's 10th birthday, Alex and Emma stood together watching their children play in the park. The autumn leaves crunched beneath their feet, and the air carried a crispness that signaled winter was near. Emma leaned her head on Alex's shoulder, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude. "Do you remember the day we met?" she asked softly. "How could I forget?" Alex replied with a chuckle. "You were standing at a bus stop looking completely out of place." Emma smiled, remembering the nervousness she had felt that day. "I'm glad you helped me," she said. "If you hadn't, none of this would have happened." Alex wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "Me too. You've changed my life in ways I never thought possible." They watched as Lily and Ethan chased each other around the playground, their laughter echoing through the park. It was a scene of pure contentment, a testament to the life they had built together. Despite their vastly different beginnings, they had found common ground and created something extraordinary. Years later, when people asked about their story, Alex and Emma would smile knowingly. They understood that their journey wasn't just about fate or coincidence. It was about choice, choosing to see past differences, choosing to embrace vulnerability, and choosing to love unconditionally. Their love story became a reminder that connection transcends wealth, status, and circumstance. It wasn't about where they started. It was about where they ended up. together. And as they stood there, surrounded by the family they had created, Alex and Emma knew they had made the right choices every step of the way.